Yesterday, we heard about NTCA and Corning's effort to help the supply chain effort in terms of getting fiber to its members.
We had some wonderful opportunities to work with Corning, and Corning is making available an exclusive supply of connectivity solutions that will be specially set aside for NTCA members. This is going to include over 46 million feet of fiber cable.
But it goes beyond just the fiber. It's actually having products that work for rural America.
It is.
Why don't you tell us, Keith?
Well, to start with the basics, we obviously need to make sure that the products are there. So with the basics of cable and connectivity, we needed to set aside a certain amount of cable for the NTCA members. So we literally peel off a certain portion of our manufacturing so that when 2024 comes and we get that real bubble that we expect with the BEAD money flowing, that ultimately we're going to have product ready for them. But you're right, innovation is a key part of this. A lot of our products, they are not by nature designed to go rural. So we've had to innovate quite a bit to make sure that the products are now tailor-made to go down to 5 and 10 homes per mile, where in the past we were looking at going to 30, 35, or 40 homes per mile and up. So we've made some pretty substantial product changes to adapt them for rural America.
Well, and a part of that is just the drop, right? And those drops can be significantly longer and fewer than in urban parts of the country, right?
Well, look, the bottom line in rural is stuff is farther apart, right? What that means is obviously you need to run longer distances between doing things, but you also end up having a lot more of a cost to deploy somebody. So the key is if you're going to send somebody out there, have them be able to get to as many places as they can and be as efficient as possible when they get there. So even though a pre-connected network didn't make a lot of sense in the past, we think it does now because you are having to go so far. You want somebody to be able to get there, connect that customer, move on to the next home, and do the next, that next connection and start to serve the customer base.
Well, let's take a look at this. And you're looking at a couple drops here, right?
For sure. So what you're looking at here is called our FlexNet product. This is really what built the Tier 1 networks out over the last decade or so. It is a highly efficient cable that is engineered for our customers. We'll do the splice at the factory. We put it into this overmold. We'll then peel off from that main feeder cable and we'll allow them to plug into a terminal or a splitter or whatever they need to do to support either customers or move on down the line. Now, not every customer in rural needs to have multiple connections at one spot. So what we've engineered is what we call a single or a 2-fiber FlexNet. So off of this, right, we would peel off and now you're serving 1 or 2 customers. Where that home is or where that home is going to be, we're literally just leaving one connection that can be made in the future. So this is going to hang there on that telephone pole and you could come back in a day, a week, a month, years and make that connection. And again, it doesn't have to be somebody that's familiar with fiber optic splicing. They can come back, plug it in, connect the drop to the house and serve the subscriber. So this is brand new stuff and we think that it allows us to be at cost parity for them to build pre-connectorized versus splicing all the way down to 8 to 10 homes per mile.
That helps as far as the installation because now suddenly you don't have to bring a fusion splicer out there or anything like that, right?
Everybody talks about supply chain scarcity in terms of materials, but when it comes down to it, there's an enormous amount of scarcity in labor as well.
Sure.
Labor doesn't move very well, and labor isn't always where you need it, where your supplies are, and where you need to be building for your ROI. So what we believe is that by giving a more connectorized network, you allow the network provider to be much more efficient in how they deploy assets. One, you don't need them to spend as much time to stand out there in the rain and splice a cable. And 2 is you don't need somebody with the highest level of engineering expertise to go out and make that connection. And I show you this one here. You could send somebody out that is capable of doing this. Walk up to the home, click, that home is connected, right? So that's how we feel like the products meet up with the labor and really make the efficiency of pre-connectorized beneficial to the rural subscribers.
And another aspect you bring to this is a software approach that allows you to kind of pre-position it, right?
It is. Now, it's rare that you have a customer conversation about a pre-connectorized network where they don't say that's a great idea. It makes a ton of sense, right? But to get them over that hump where they can say, great idea, I want to try it out, requires engineering expertise that they don't have. So we've made some pretty massive software investments where we can sit with a customer in literally 15 or 20 minutes, and we can overlay what this FlexSnap design looks like on that customer's neighborhood or whatever area that they're building. So we can help them get over that hump, see what the real ROI looks like, and make a decision on whether or not that technology makes sense. Then, if they adopt it, we can help them make sure that the quality control is in the design. We can send somebody out to the location, train them so that that first couple of installs, they've got a warm blanket around them to make sure it goes well.
And then the fiber drops themselves are pretty much standard things they can order from you, and it might be a 2,000-foot drop or whatever. You just reel up the extra.
Exactly. The beauty of fiber is you can go a very long distance, right? So how you connect it obviously makes a difference. I showed you the pre-connectorized drop on one side. You could have another connector on the other end, so you literally have no splicing anywhere in the network. Or you could have a splice at the other side. You could do a mechanical connector at the other side. That's up to you in terms of how you want to best deploy. We've even done work with some of our partners on doing a self-install kit. Went surprisingly well. More to come on that one, but it's amazing how resourceful some of the rural landowners are, and they're very happy to dig their own trench.
Well, these members reflect their customers, and yes. So it's a wonderful opportunity here for getting fiber out sooner and hopefully a little bit less money.
It is. Well, this is a really important thing that they're doing here. Very important, and we want to play our part, and we want to make sure that we have the stuff and we have the engineering expertise to make sure that it goes really well.
Excellent. Well, Keith, I appreciate your time.
You bet. Thank you very much.